Forget Kevin Costner's replacement. Beth and Rip's Yellowstone spinoff already has John Dutton's best successor. As production falls into place for Beth and Rip's Yellowstone spinoff, there's a buzz that it's casting a replacement for Kevin Costner's character. But the Lovebird story already has John Dutton's true successor. Puck's What I'm Hearing newsletter reports Yellowstone's offshoot is looking for someone like Costner to join Kelly Reilly and Cole Hauser, who will reprise Beth and Rip, respectively. The report also confirmed that production would be underway this summer, likely building on Beth and Rip's Yellowstone Season 5 ending. A pattern guides Taylor Sheridan's Yellowstone characters, and replacing Kevin Costner's patriarch maintains it. Yellowstone and its prequels have older, wiser figures to guide the younger generation, with Beth and Spencer Dutton, Brandon Sklinner, sharing the spotlight with characters played by tested stars like Costner and Harrison Ford, who placed Jacob Dutton in 1923. While it will be interesting to see John Dutton's replacement, Beth and Rip's Yellowstone spinoff should prioritize its existing characters to build on Sheridan's legacy of Yellowstone's character-driven ensemble. Following Taylor Sheridan's formula, Carter, Finn Little, could come to the forefront as John Dutton's successor in Beth and Rip's Yellowstone spinoff. Carter has wanted to be like John Dutton since Yellowstone Season 4, and making his role in the spinoff more robust could focus on Carter as the younger character and Beth and Rip as the sturdy Yellowstone power couple. While the delayed timeline for Yellowstone Season 5 changed Carter's story as Beth and Rip's ersatz son, the couple's spinoff could embrace that, leaning into Carter as the older and wiser character he's become. Yellowstone Season 4, Episode 6, I Want to Be Him, ends with Carter's proclamation. After Rip fights Lloyd, 4E.J. Smith, everyone directly involved walks away from the confrontation upset, with John Dutton walking up the hillside. The episode ends when Carter tells Jake Reems that he knows what he wants to be when he grows up, saying, I want to be him, referring to John. The Yellowstone franchise puts weight on the memorable moment, making it the chapter's title. Therefore, Yellowstone has already set Carter into motion as the perfect replacement for what John Dutton was to the franchise. It makes sense to highlight Carter in Beth and Rip's story because he was supposed to be a major part of their lives, and Yellowstone's spinoff can lean into that. Finn Little was just a kid when he joined the franchise, but Carter's performance in Yellowstone Season 5, albeit limited, proved that Carter's charm has evolved with age, not plateaued, as Tate's, Breckin Merrill, sometimes did. While he doesn't have the same draw as a more tested actor, Little could continue in the Yellowstone story as Carter for quite some time, succeeding John's presence in the Yellowstone franchise rather than replacing it. Carter met John Dutton during his formative years, allowing him to study Dutton's wisdom from up close. The same is true for Rip, but Cole Hauser's character was more like a son to John, whereas Taylor Sheridan could make Carter more like John himself. In Beth and Rip's Yellowstone spinoff, Wheeler may build a ranching empire. Carter could stand to inherit that, making him even more like John. Unlike Tate, who didn't know if he wanted to run the ranch, Carter wholly commits to the lifestyle in Yellowstone Season 4 when he vows to be like John, proving he could succeed him. While Carter would appear in Beth and Rip's Yellowstone show, in theory, there's no official word about whether Finn Little has joined the cast. The most obvious reason to believe that Carter would join Beth and Rip in their spinoff is that he appears alongside the couple at their ranch in Dillon, Montana, in the character's epilogue in Yellowstone Season 5, Episode 14, Life is a Promise. Probably knowing he would continue Yellowstone with Beth and Rip's story, Taylor Sheridan had the opportunity to write Carter out of the couple's next chapter, and he didn't take it. Finn Little appeared in Taylor Sheridan's Those Who Wish Me Dead alongside Angelina Jolie before his Yellowstone debut. so he has a track record of reappearing in Sheridan's works. Little is also actively supporting the Yellowstone franchise, highlighted in an Instagram post showing a gorgeous behind-the-scenes photo of Little and Costner in Montana's beautiful, atmospheric mountains. Still, while Carter is a great character and can appear alongside Beth and Rip regardless, Sheridan likely wants someone with more star power to draw interest in Rayleigh and Hawes's show, since it doesn't have Costner to compel viewers to tune in. With all the speculation surrounding who will replace Kevin Costner in the final season of Yellowstone, it's easy to overlook what might be the most exciting future for the franchise. Instead of worrying about recasting John Dutton or finding a way to close his story, the best move would be to let the Yellowstone universe evolve beyond his presence. And there's no better way to do that than with a Beth and Rip spinoff, which already has the perfect successor to John Dutton's legacy. Rip Wheeler himself, the heart and soul of Yellowstone. Since the very first season, Rip Wheeler, Cole Hauser, has been more than just a ranch hand. He's John Dutton's most loyal enforcer, his surrogate son, and the man who embodies the old-school values of the Dutton way of life. More than Jamie, more than Case, and arguably more than John himself in recent years, Rip has held on to the core principles that Yellowstone was built upon. Rip isn't just a cowboy, he's the cowboy. He's tough, fiercely loyal, and dedicated to the land in a way that's both terrifying and admirable. While Case Dutton has struggled with his identity, torn between the ranch and his own family, Rip has never wavered. If Yellowstone is about preserving a way of life, then Rip is the living embodiment of that cause. And that's why he's the best natural successor to John Dutton in a future spinoff. The Beth and Rip spinoff, a new chapter in the Yellowstone universe. A Beth and Rip spinoff would be the perfect way to carry forward Yellowstone's legacy without feeling like a retread of John Dutton's story. While the main series has always been about John's struggle to keep his land out of the hands of developers and politicians, a spinoff could focus on how Beth and Rip handle their own version of that fight. Beth Dutton, Kelly Riley, is the fire to Rip's steady hand. She's ruthless, brilliant, and emotionally volatile, but she's also deeply in love with Rip and fiercely protective of the land. Their dynamic has always been one of the most compelling aspects of Yellowstone, and a spinoff would allow that relationship to take center stage in a way that hasn't been fully explored yet. Rip as the true heir to Yellowstone. One of the biggest questions hanging over the franchise is who will ultimately carry on John Dutton's legacy. Case, the biological heir, has never fully embraced the ranching life, and Jamie is completely alienated from the family. Beth may be the brains, but Rip is the one who has already been living John's values for years. Rip's leadership isn't about blood ties. It's about loyalty, wisdom, and an unshakable dedication to the land. He has the respect of the bunkhouse, the know-how to run the ranch, and the grit to stand up to anyone who threatens it. He doesn't need to be a Dutton by birth to be the true successor to John's way of life. The drama of building their own empire. A Beth and Rip spinoff doesn't have to be just about preserving the Yellowstone ranch. In fact, their future could take them away from the Dutton land entirely. With the way things have been going in Yellowstone, it's possible that Beth and Rip could be forced to start over somewhere new, perhaps buying their own land, building their own empire, and proving that the Yellowstone way of life isn't tied to one particular ranch, but to the people who live it. Imagine Rip and Beth carving out a new legacy, taking on new enemies, and facing fresh challenges that don't just retread the same conflicts John Dutton fought. Maybe they go to Texas and cross paths with the 6666 ranch crew, setting up a new era of Yellowstone storytelling. Maybe they stay in Montana, but have to fight against even more powerful forces trying to reshape the West. Whatever direction the story takes, it would be a bold and thrilling new chapter for the franchise. A different kind of leadership. One of the things that would make Rip a fascinating lead is that he's not John Dutton 2.0. He's his own man. While John ruled through intimidation and power, Rip's leadership is more about respect and earned loyalty. He's not a politician or a businessman like Beth, but together they form a formidable team. Rip brings the strength, the heart, and the work ethic, while Beth brings the strategy, the fire, and the ability to play the long game. This dynamic would make for incredible storytelling. Unlike John, who is often emotionally distant, Rip is deeply connected to the people he cares about. He leads with action rather than words, and that makes him a compelling, relatable figure in a way that John sometimes wasn't. Yellowstone has always been about the struggle between the old ways and the modern world. And Rip represents a version of the old ways that feels more sustainable and human than John's rigid, sometimes brutal approach.